Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering Laporta's comments on Xavi's exit. We assess De Bruyne's comment on a potential move to Saudi, and we talk about the City lawsuit. We preview Group A of Euro 2024. We talk about what's going on at Manchester United. And make sure you stick around for the end of the show, where I'll be giving you my thoughts on whether or not Argentina are the clear favorites to win this Copa America. Before we start, I would like to ask that you like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions that come in during the show, so to ensure that your questions get read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net with your questions. This puts your questions at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it also really helps grow the show. So again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net. Man, we gotta start off with Laporta, Joan Laporta, president of Barcelona. He came out and went a little bit more full, like gave us a little bit more of a perspective from him on why he has sacked Xavi. It's been a crazy couple of months for Barcelona. Xavi a few months ago announcing he will be leaving at the end of the season, and Barcelona going on a good run, doing pretty well. Playing really well in the Champions League, only getting eliminated because of a red card. And they were eventually able to reconcile. Joan Laporta and the Barcelona board were able to convince Xavi to stay on. Xavi was convinced and he stayed on. And then, some fallout happened near the end of the season. Xavi made some comments regarding their financial capabilities. And now, it wasn't, it was rumored that really rubbed the wrong way. And that rumor actually ended up being correct. And Xavi was sacked. And it's an interesting situation. We've discussed this for a long time. We've even had many a Barcelona fan on in previous episodes to discuss it. But today we're gonna go even more depth. Barcelona president Joan Laporta, he revealed that the doubts regarding the squad in the current squad was really the reason why they sacked him. Joan Laporta. Xavi, during those renegotiations a few months ago, during those time where they were trying to convince him, Joan Laporta was trying to convince Xavi to stay on. Apparently, Xavi Hernandez told him that he believes in this current squad, and it seemed like that there was that was false, and that Xavi didn't genuinely believe in the current squad. And that's it. He also during this press conference, he also confirmed that they want to extend João Felix and João Cancelo, who are both on loans, and they also want to sign a midfielder and a winger. And he talked about how the club's financial situation will not stop them from making from being able to get the world's best players. Keep in mind, Xavi did come out near the end of the season discussing their financial issues as as a concern for the club, and really was trying to lower the expectation for their next season. And that's also something that also continued to rub Joan Laporta and the Barcelona ports the wrong way. Just to give you a little bit more of a timeline, Xavi announced in January that he's going to step down, and then he reversed his decision in April, and then 3 weeks later after that, Laporta has decided to fire him. Just shows the emotional roller coaster that that runs this club, and it's just too much going back and forth for a club of this stature, for a club that's really trying to catch a Real Madrid that have been completely dominating Europe at this point, winning their 15th Champions League, and just signing arguably, one of the best players the best player in the world, if not one of the best players in the world. If you look at it based on this past season, Real Madrid probably have the two best player in the world on their team with Vinicius and Mbappe, and yeah, that's a very difficult task for Barcelona to be able to compete with them. But we'll discuss, Hansi Flick coming in a little bit later. Now, well, Laporta during his press conference, he said, "If Xavi can change his mind, so can we." Laporta said in not in a press conference, in an interview with one of the news sources in the Catalan area. He also said everything was a bit forced when we decided to keep him on. Xavi is a club legend, and his enthusiasm led us to the decision to ratify his position. At the time of his U-turn, I asked him, "Do you believe in the team?" He told me yes. He said he had faith in this team. However, there were then comments in which he changed his discourse after conversations with Barcelona sporting director Deco with respect to necessary changes to the squad. That forced me to reconsider the situation, and I felt the squad needed a new impetus to be more competitive and get the best of what we have. I have to make these tough decisions with Barca legends. My heart told me he should stay on, but not my head. I hope our relationship can continue. I've been through it with Koeman, Messi, Piqué, Busquets, Alba, and now Xavi. All decisions are made for the good of Barcelona. The club comes first. Yeah, that's a lot to take from. My main issues is his lack of belief in the squad, Xavi's lack of belief in the squad. Is that really enough to fire him, especially after 3 weeks before wanting him to stay on, convincing him to stay on? Is that right there enough to say, it's time to sack? I think that's incredibly harsh, and I think Joan Laporta and this Barcelona board in general, I don't want to put everything on him, but majority is on him. What's the word? He's emotionally on a roller coaster when he's making these sort of decisions, and that's not for the good of the club. He says he's looking out for the club, but there needs to be a little bit more support around him that doesn't make him make these emotional decisions, because that's what it is, flat out. It is him not believing in the squad, or him feeling betrayed about Xavi lying during the discussion earlier. It's just wrong, and it's weird to me. And I think I really think Xavi is getting done a raw deal, and this is the club that he was a legendary player for. So you would think that there would be some sort of respect there in the way Barcelona would deal with it. Barcelona treated Xavi like they would have treated any other manager. I think the treatment of Xavi was probably worse than Ronald Koeman, or any manager beforehand. I mean, it's just a joke to me. But to move away from that, hiring Hansi Flick is hiring a good manager. This is a Hansi Flick that has won Bundesliga, has won Champions League with Bayern Munich. He's done a remarkable job at Bayern Munich, getting them to play this style of play, this high intensity, pressing high, winning the ball high off the field, playing an incredibly high line of high intensity game, playing some beautiful, beautiful football that they've played with Hansi Flick. So bringing a guy like him in is, a great addition. But you cannot, you can't overlook the treatment of Xavi and the unfairness of Xavi being sacked based on comments that he made or based on his lack of belief in squad. I'm gonna praise this decision to hire Hansi Flick, but at the same time, you could criticize how Xavi was treated in that whole process of Xavi. Now, Laporta also discussed Hansi Flick. He said Flick feels capable of competing with the squad. That was decisive. Flick's task is to win, and he's accepted the challenge. The players must be well prepared physically. The youngsters, the substitutes, players like Lewandowski, everyone has to be in good shape physically. The physical preparation is essential because with that and having the ball, we can win everything. The season we saw the team dip after the 60th minute physically. We didn't finish games as we wanted in the two Clásicos, for example. I'm not saying the team was not well prepared, but there are always things to improve. We need more. I want to highlight they need to be in good shape physically because the Hansi Flick way, the way that they played at Bayern, it's a different game, and it's a different game based on what Barcelona has done over the last decade. No, going all the way back to Rijkaard, and always honestly, every style of play that Barcelona has had all ties back to the Johan Cruyff era, with the possession oriented style of play, and then Pep Guardiola took it to the next level. It's all possession oriented, tiki taka, moving the ball, creating space by keeping the ball, and moving it, one touch passing, just moving it from side to side and wearing out defenses. That's what Barcelona has generally been. That's the style of play. But Hansi Flick, this is totally different. There's the creativity is important, but the emphasis of creativity with this setup compared to the tiki-taka setup is, it's way less. There's a heavy reliance on pressing in this setup, winning the ball high up the field, relying that as your major form of playmaking. So it's an interesting transition that this club is gonna make, and I'm very excited to see how it goes, if the Barcelona players buy it, and most importantly, if the Barcelona fans are they willing to accept this new style of play, which I believe they will if they get the results. We'll take a short break here. When we come back, I'm gonna assess De Bruyne's comments on a potential move to Saudi, and also discuss a little bit about the City lawsuit.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Before the break, we discussed the situation with Barcelona. We now discuss De Bruyne's comments on a potential move to Saudi Arabia. And on top of that, Manchester City's lawsuit against the Premier League. A lot to unpack with this. But first of all, Kevin De Bruyne, he came out with some comments that surprised me hugely, and some comments that really opened up his perspective. And he was very honest with these comments, which generally football players, they happen to be very mysterious when it comes to their future and all that. And especially with a move like this, a move that has potential of getting criticized, this is not something that they're going to come out and say right away. And I applaud Kevin De Bruyne for his honesty, especially in a time of a lot of uncertainty amongst what he's going to do. Usually, if he's discussing something like this, it's going to be, it's going to be something that it's going to be something that's immediately happening, but this is something he's still thinking about. So I'm surprised by this, but he has, he said in his comments he is open to the Saudi Pro League because of the incredible amount of money that that could be offered from Saudi Arabia. He has 1 year left on his deal at Manchester City, and he has been previously linked with the move to Saudi Arabia, but there's been plenty of players that's been linked there. There's been sources that said De Bruyne's group entourage visited 10 Saudi clubs in May, and and he has admitted that he's tempted by the money that the Saudi can offer. At my age, this is what he said. At my age, you have to be open to everything. You're talking about an incredible amounts of money in what may be the end of my career. Sometimes you have to think about that. If I play there for 2 years, I'll be able to earn an incredible amount of money. Before that, I had to play football for 15 years. I may not even reach that amount yet. Then you have to think about what that could mean next. But at the moment, I haven't had to think about it yet. Wow. Very honest in that situation. He also, continued to talk. This is also another thing he said. There are conversations that we are increasingly having as a family. I still have 1 year left on my contract, so I have to think about what could happen. My eldest son is now 8 years old and knows nothing about England. He asks how long I'll play for City. Once the moment comes, we have to deal with it in a certain way. Yeah. It is an incredible amount of money that he could potentially be offered to go and be Saudi club. And this is a Kevin De Bruyne that still has plenty to give at 32-33. So that's going to be an added initiative for a Saudi club to come in with a crazy lucrative deal, because Kevin De Bruyne still has a lot to offer. This is Kevin De Bruyne that's missed some stretches over the past few years. He only played 18 games this Premier League campaign because of injury. And, he has 1 year left, and he wants to look out for his money. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. I think this is a move that he has to think about. And it's an opportunity for him for generational wealth. And at the end of the day, it's at the end of the day, it's like a decision when you're making these kind of crossroads. It's a decision. You want to get the generational wealth, or do you want to squeeze out as much of your prime that you have left? That's really up for Kevin De Bruyne, his decision to make. He has been injured over the past few years. When I've seen him on the pitch, I don't see any sort of decline. But obviously, with the fact that he is 33, he is closer to the end than the beginning. That's not to be argued with. But it's at the end of the day, it really comes down to him, and he has to make the decision on whether or not he wants to squeeze as much out of his prime, or if he wants to go on to Saudi. Now also there's the deal with Pep Guardiola, him potentially leaving at the end of the season. Maybe he wants to, maybe he extends it for one, because it's looking like he hasn't announced it yet, but it's a potential chance that next year might be Guardiola's last season at City. City want to know by December whether or not that's the case, which is fair and understandable. But it's there's a possibility. Maybe that's the added initiative for Kevin De Bruyne to stay on for one last season with Pep, then make that move to Saudi, just see out his contract at City, then move to Saudi. When it comes to, despite him still being in his prime, maybe if he wanted to leave City, and I don't see any other European team that he'd want to go to. He has already won it all at Manchester City, and I don't think he wouldn't go to any other Premier League team because of his tie with City. Maybe a team in Spain, a Barcelona, Real Madrid. Him finish out, play a few years there. Maybe go back to Germany and play for Vincent Kompany, his former teammates. Maybe I could see that as a potential, but it's looking like Saudi Saudi Arabia is in Kevin De Bruyne's cards soon. With the comments that he made, you have to recognize that. Also, Manchester City, they have sued the Premier League. Yes, Manchester City have sued the Premier League, the league that they just won. They've sued the Premier League. They launched legal action against the Premier League over financial rules ahead of their own 115 charge hearing. This is very complicated. Manchester City, champions of the Premier League, suing the Premier League. Manchester City have accused the Premier League of discrimination against golf ownership, and they're also suing them for damages. They've also challenged the Premier League's association party transaction rulers, claiming they are unlawful, the laws that they're being charged with, and a private arbitration hearing is going to be scheduled next week regarding it, which is kind of interesting because they're kind of admitting that they did their charges by saying the laws were unlawful, but at the end of the day, majority, not even more than a majority, 14 out of 20 Premier League clubs vote on this happening. So that makes no sense to me. But yeah, okay, well, it makes no sense to me. But let's just get back to the main point. So the Premier League ATP rules were brought in 2021 after Saudi took over Newcastle, and 20 teams in the Premier League were informed about this, and it got voted in. So let's get that out of the way. Manchester City are basically arguing that sponsors should have their own freedom to decide how much they want to pay, rather than a figure individually verified as market value. It's a bunch of financial things, but they wanted to defend themselves against the 115 charges that were hit in February 2023 after a 4-year investigation, and this seems like a good way to try to make them the victim here, and that they're being unlawfully accused and all that. I think this is a good PR spin by them, but at the end of the day, UEFA has also came out and charged Manchester City with financial charges, and City were able to escape punishment, not because they didn't do the charges, but because when you look at the rules exactly, UEFA weren't able to get the lawsuit done in time. So Manchester City, they have a lot to do to defend themselves. I'm not gonna lie. They have a lot to defend themselves. I think the way that they've behaved sort of has been scandalous when it comes to these lawsuits. Unfair towards golf ownership. Well, they're not the only team owned by golf ownership. Newcastle United are also owned by golf ownership. So yeah, interesting and confusing at the same time. We're going to take a short break here. When I come back, I'm going to answer some of the questions in the comments, but I'm also preview Group A of Euro 2024.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign.
Before we move on with this next segment, I'm going to real quick answer these two questions I see in the comment section. Basically, what's the difference between Manchester United and Manchester City? I never understood it. I'm from the States. Well, there are two separate football clubs in the city of Manchester. One is Manchester United, the other one is Manchester City. It's just two different teams. It's kind of similar to the New York Jets and the New York Giants. Just two different teams in Manchester. So that's pretty much there. And then who's winning gold for Summer Olympics 2024 in soccer, I assume. Obviously, the France just announced their squad yesterday, and that's one of the most loaded Olympic teams I've ever watched. They got guys like Michael Olise, Jean-Philippe Mateta, Alexander Lacazette, Warren Zaire-Emery, Bradley Barcola. It's a team that's stacked with players, and it is their home. They're going to be the home team, so I definitely think they're the clear favorites to win gold at the Summer Olympics for sure. We preview Group A of Euro 2024. We're going to be doing this every day from now until the start of the Euros on Friday. Each day we're going to preview a group. Today's turn is Group A with the host nations Germany, the Scottish national team led by Andy Robertson, Lyndon Dykes, and the crew. Hungary led by Dominik Szoboszlai, and Switzerland led by Granit Xhaka, who's been on a amazing form this season. Look, in my opinion, these are one of the groups, and this is the group, in my opinion. All four teams enter this tournament and have a legit they legit think that they'll get out of the group stages. They should go in with that kind of mindset. I think all four of these teams, when you look at Germany should be fully expected to win this group and to dominate this group. When you look at you being Germany and the fact that you are the home team at this European Championship. Scotland is a team that played really well in qualifiers, had some fantastic results, defeating Spain, playing very good football in terms of not playing some crazy attacking football, but understanding their identity of playing, keeping it compact, keeping it tight, and relying on individual moments to score goals. Not being really to take a game by the scruff of the neck, but relying on individual moments and being very solid defensively, and and with the way that they qualified, playing very well, only losing one game the whole window. They should, and after the last European Championship, where they played, in my opinion, 3 pretty good games, but only resulted from 1 point. I think they should think to take the next step up. Hungary, when you look at what they did at the last Euros, in that group of death was Portugal, Germany, and France, drawing against France in the group stages, playing against a Germany in the last, or taking Portugal all the way to the end of the game against Portugal, and then playing against the Germans and drawing with them in Germany 2-2, and taking the lead late on to potentially take them to the knockout stage and conceding in the 83rd minute by Goretzka. Hungary, they played amazing at the last European Championship. And in the European qualifiers, they really played well at the European qualifiers. They actually finished top of their group, went the whole group unbeaten, winning 5 games, drawing 3, defeating, finishing ahead of the likes of Serbia in the group, who they actually defeated in the qualifiers. They defeated Serbia. In the qualifiers, another team that's, in my opinion, has huge talent, and they defeated them in the qualifiers. They both times, in both results, in Hungary and in Belgrade. So it shows that they're a team not to be messed with. They have a manager in Rossi who led them at the last European Championship, and is a good manager. What he's done with Hungary has been very, very good in terms of qualifying for 2 straight European Championship, being able to punch above their weight, being better than the sum. I think he's the kind of manager that makes a team better than the sum of their parts. And then you got it with Switzerland, which is a Switzerland team that they're in every single international competition that they're in. They always make a good showing for themselves, as in they get better at their group stages, and then they go home eventually in the round of 16 or quarterfinals. But they always do past the minimum. This is the they have a Granit Xhaka, who's their captain, that's been on amazing form for Leverkusen, and they're coached by this is the first tournament. Well, they'll be coached by Murat Yakin, who is a former player for the Switzerland national team, and this is going to be his first international tournament for the Switzerland national team. So, for me, that group in general, 4 teams. Switzerland, they always get out of the group stages. They never get embarrassed and get eliminated in the group stage. Now they have a low ceiling, but they have a high floor at the same time. And it'll be really difficult for me to see them getting eliminated in the group stages, and then Hungary with them, and Scotland, Germany. This is, in my opinion, a tough group to call. Germany facing Scotland in the opening game of the European Championship. I think that's a game that will be an excellent game to open up the Euros with. Absolutely. I think this is a Scotland team that's really going to give Germany a run for their money in that first game. I think Scotland will do a good job of keeping it compact, keeping it tight, closing off the spaces, and I think Germany, will control possession of the game. And my things with Germany is, especially in these international tournaments, is that they've lacked their cutting edge ability in terms of being able to find that breakthrough. You see, again, they played against Ukraine today, who defended for their lives, and they weren't able to find that breakthrough. Or yesterday, they played Ukraine yesterday, and they weren't able to find that breakthrough. I can see Scotland getting a result in that first game against Germany, despite the fact that Germany has been the home team. Germany, as the home team, they lost to France at the last European Championships, and they also almost lost to Hungary. It took them an 83rd minute goal in a game that they had to win. They had to get a result in just to move on out of the group stages. So, if I'm coming from a Germany perspective, I'd be wary of Scotland in that opening game. And if Scotland can get a result in that opening game against Germany, I think it opens up their chances at this tournament, huge chances at this tournament, in my opinion. And I don't see, obviously with the European Championship, a potential third place team can go through, but for me, I don't know. I think it's really, really tight between all 4 of these teams. Now, I think Germany, they should win the group, but I definitely think any of, amongst Scotland, Hungary, and Switzerland, any of those teams can move on to the knockout stage. Any of those teams, and you can make a legit argument for all of those. I am going to go with Germany winning the group. I think they have to get it together at this European Championship. I can see it go wrong. Especially based on what happened in that Ukraine game. If they start stalemate against Scotland, or, even worse forbid, maybe Scotland get an opportunity on the counter that Germany, they've shown to leave themselves vulnerable on the counter, and Scotland are able to win that opening game, then I think it spells huge trouble for Germany. But, it takes one breakthrough, and I think with a guy like Toni Kroos come in, I think they're going to be able to find the breakthrough for Germany. And so I think they will win the group, which that opening game is going to be crucial for Germany if they want to open the group, if they want to win this group. And I think I'm going to go second place just based on sheer experience. And actually, I should go with Switzerland. I should go with Switzerland, and that's what I was gonna go with. But the more and more I think about it, I've not been hugely impressed with Switzerland at the qualifiers, winning 4 games, drawing 5, only having 1 loss, but still, 4 wins in 10. With Scotland, them finishing, with the way that I'm gonna go Scotland second. I'm gonna get Scotland second. I think Switzerland will finish third, and I think Hungary will finish last. But let's not be mistaken regarding Hungary. They are a brilliant team, and I think they also have a huge opportunity. So I'm gonna lock it in for now. Obviously, as we get closer to the tournament, as I see more international friendlies, maybe I'll change my opinion. If I do, I'll say it on here. But as of right now, I have Germany winning the group, Scotland moving on, Switzerland finishing third, and Hungary finishing fourth. And also, with the situation regarding the third place teams, they could also move on. The 4 best third place team, I believe the 4 best third place teams move on. So, a good opportunity for Switzerland to move on based on that. What's your favorite kit this year? Make it clear in the comment section if you're regarding club or country. Make that clear, and then I'm going to answer that next segment. So we're going to take a short break here. When I come back, I'm going to answer that question and also discuss what is going on at Manchester United.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we previewed Group A at the Euros. We now will discuss what's going on in Manchester United. Real quick, though, I'm going to answer this question. What's my favorite kit this year? He wants me to answer both the club and country. Regarding club, I would say probably my favorite kit this year was in total, when you consider the kits and shorts, when you see it on the pitch, I really loved United's white and burgundy shorts. I really thought that, those two just complemented it very, very well. They played it in the away game. They used those kit in the away game against, I believe it was the Galatasaray in the Champions League, and it just looks so good. I'm talking about in general, the white shirt with the burgundy shorts. I thought those a good color combination. But that's really the whole kit in general, rather than just the jersey, But in terms of international, there's a lot of good I saw Italy. I watched Italy play today. I really love they switched to Adidas. I really love that blue Italy kit. It was really, really nice, really aesthetic. It's one of those vintage kind of kits. I think that's a brilliant kit. I also, love France's kits, both home and away. France always have very, very good kits. But this one was just, for me, very, very nice. I love the feel to it. They go back to the more, because they've been a lot of navy bluish. They go to the more royal kind of blue, and I love their kits. A lot of people don't like them, but I think they have brilliant kits. And if I was a French national team fan, I would definitely acquire them. What's going on at Manchester United, though? That's the $1 million question. The $1 million question. Manchester United have still not decided what they want to do with Erik ten Hag. For me, it's a strange situation. They're currently in a end of season review, and when they finish that, they're gonna they're gonna decide what they want to do with him. It's been more than a week since the FA Cup final. I think it's unbelievable, not the treatment Erik ten Hag has, and also, let's say at the end of this review, you decide to fire him, you're putting yourself weeks behind on bringing in a new manager. It's just, for me, it's really incredible the way that this club's been. And we thought, we were sold this vision of United from this new group coming in, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, NUS, coming in, taking over football operations, and it's going to be a proper footballing setup in the way Manchester United was set up and ran. But the way that they have behaved over the past few weeks, talking to McKenna a few days before the FA Cup final, allowing reports like that to go out, and then this, a week later, not being clear, the treatment of Erik ten Hag, it's been really a joke. It's been very a joke, and it's been horribly ran and horribly executed, in my opinion. And, a decision should have came yesterday. I don't understand what the holdup is. Just for me, it makes no sense to me. It does not make any sort of sense. I don't understand it at all. For me, it's the way a poor club is ran, and it's really a joke. It's really a joke. Bruno Fernandes, he has been part of rumors over the past few months or so with his contract running down, and he wants to and he has talked about his willingness to come back to to Manchester United. But obviously, he wants to be compensated. There's been a lot of United players that have been paid ridiculous amount of money that hasn't done what half of Bruno has done for them at United in terms of contribution on the pitch, and he's trying to match some of the top earners, especially the earners that haven't done much for United. He's pushing for this new contract, that puts him with the likes of guys like Marcus Rashford, Casemiro, Sancho, and he is also the captain. So, he needs to know what's going on with the manager and the long-term direction this club wants to go with, so he can decide whether or not he wants to stay on or transfer to United. Now, the United ownership group, board, footballing operations, led by Sir Jim Ratcliffe, they look at Fernandes as, a best player, a player to build around, despite his age. And they're not trying to sell him, but they do need to bring in money, and they need to reduce the amount of money that they spend on the players, the wages, to be able to invest in bringing these new players around the squad to build around him. And it is rumored also that Fernandes' agent has been talking to other clubs around Europe, and that could be leveraged to get the deal that he wants to get. Don't get me wrong, that could just be leverage. But at the end of the day, that has happened. Now, he signed his new deal in 2022, and it runs to 2026. But he doesn't believe that money is enough for him. So it's not like his contract is winding down. It's just him deciding he wants an upgrade, and maybe an upgrade in terms of money, and then maybe all this this talking to other clubs, this rumors regarding him potentially transferring, wanting out of United. Maybe that's just a grab at money so he can earn as much as some of the higher earners, which I think it's a fair ask for him. I think it's fair for him to want that. Fernandes, he said this last month. He said, "I love to step out at Old Trafford more than anything in the world. I don't want to leave. This has always been my ultimate dream. I just want my expectation to fit with the expectations of the club. If you go talk to any fan, they will tell you the same thing. We want to compete for the league. We want to be playing Champions League football. We want to be in cup finals. That is the standard." And that's a beautiful statement, and that's the truth statement. And him as a club captain, even though I don't agree with captaincies and the way he sometimes behaves on the pitch, he is the club captain, and I think, he has every right, because, he's been a whiner and he's been very annoying player for me. I've never, he's always been a player that rubbed me the wrong way. But in terms of contribution, strict contribution on the pitch, he is a very, very good player. And he's a very talented player. And he's had a lot of his career wasted at Manchester United, being 29. This is a player with the capabilities of playing at a club like Barcelona and Real Madrid. And he has came to United and he has not had much accomplishments at all, winning just one EFL and FA Cup that he won under Ten Hag, by the way, who still has not been kept, by the way. They still, I discussed this earlier. But he has not won anything at United of relevance when it comes to Premier League, Champions League. And, at the club like Real Madrid, Barcelona, he would have, a lot more opportunities. He'd have, potential Ballon d'Or opportunities with the talent that he has. And I think, he should look to transfer out of Manchester United, because it doesn't seem like United have a set direction to go and to build around him enough in his prime, because he is 29 years old. I really don't think he should stay at United, but it shows his loyalty and just the good character of him wanting to stay on at Manchester United. That's good. It shows the kind of heart that he has, which I've never questioned with Bruno Fernandes. Anything I've questioned Bruno Fernandes has been his whiningness and just sheer being annoying, not behaving like a captain. That's what it is. His whining, his whinging. That's what it is. It's never been his character or anything like that. And him wanting to stay at United shows me the kind of human being that he is. He's loyal and he's willing to, play for the bad. And that's beautiful. And that's a player that United fans should get behind. So I understand United fans supporting him and all that. And I understand to a certain extent why he's also captain too, when you see the way he, talks and all that. But at the same time, he has wasted so much of his career at Manchester United. And he's having to do all this just to get a raise. It seems like United are not even appreciating enough, because I think he should have this raise already. I don't think he should have to do all this, convincing. I don't think his agent should have to go to other clubs trying to, threaten his way to getting him. So, yeah. And at the same time also, for me, Bruno Fernandes, he's 29 years old. Does he really believe the way that this club is ran? He's seen what's going on with the Erik Ten Hag situation. He's seen what's happened over the last few years. Does he really think they're going to be able to build with him within his prime? He's 29 years old. Does he think they're going to be able to build a team that's able to compete for these kind of trophies within his prime? Does Man United, I think it's better off for both sides, for Bruno Fernandes and Manchester United. They offload Bruno Fernandes. They don't have to pay him those wages that he wants. They're able to offload him for transfer value, because his contract does run until 2026. But also for him, he gets to go in somewhere else, and he gets to have a chance to really get the big trophies. Get the big trophies. I think it's good for both sides if Bruno Fernandes, moves on to another club. We're going to take a short break here. When I come back, I'm going to discuss the Copa America, our Argentina clear favorites. Before the break, we discussed Manchester United and their situation. It's now time to discuss whether or not Argentina are clear favorites to win this Copa America. My mouth is dry. Obviously, this is a combined Copa America between North and South America. You got the national teams of the United States, Mexico, Jamaica, Costa Rica, Panama, all joining in with these CONMEBOL nations and Canada, by the way. Forgot to mention Canada. Joining in with the CONMEBOL nations to create this, mega American championship. We had a very similar tournament in 2016, the Copa America Centenario. We had the likes of the United States actually reaching the semifinals, getting walloped by Argentina in those semifinals, but we don't discuss that. But we had that happen. We also have a real sort of sense of optimism with this U.S. men's national team at this Copa America, just based on the sheer talented squad that they have. But we're not here to discuss, the United States national team. We're here to discuss Argentina. They're coming off a World Cup win in 2022, almost a little bit in about a year and a half or so ago. And it's they're now here with a lot of similar players, maybe the last dance for some of these players to really, continue to add to the legacy of this group at Argentina, already winning a Copa America, and also, with winning the Copa America and also winning the World Cup. This Argentina, there's a few names that Argentina national team Lionel Scaloni has named in the squad for Copa America that might be doubtful because of injuries. Now they named 29 players, but 3 of them will be cut, and there are 5 names that are fighting for the 2 spots in the team. And so interested to see who the final spot is. There's also a battle between Angel Correa and Valentin Corbani. I'm interested to see how they make the final squad for Argentina. Lionel Messi has just joined the squad, by the way, as they prepare for the Copa America. They play friendly games against Ecuador and Guatemala to prepare for the Copa America. And they open up their Copa America against Canada. Their group comprises of Canada, Peru, and Chile, which is 2 teams in Peru and Chile that's really struggled in CONMEBOL qualifiers so far up to this point. And a Canada team that the team was able to qualify for 2022. They did it remarkably well, dominating in CONCACAF, finishing first. But in terms of over the last year or so, not really been on a strong foot and have had horrible issues with the federation regarding bankruptcy and all that sort. So Argentina, clear favorites to get out of the group. But, when it comes to Argentina and their form entering this European Copa America, they've been very, very good. They won 5 games, but they've also lost a game, and, they went on a crazy unbeaten run before the World Cup. But they have, they've showed a little bit of weakness when they lost to Uruguay in World Cup qualifiers, and they lost to Uruguay at the La Bombonera in Buenos Aires, that, the Fortaleza, the fortress of Argentina. Now, obviously, they played very well in that game. If you watch it through the 90 minutes, 12 shots to 6, 3 shots on target to 2, controlling 64% of the ball. But, they were chasing the game and all that, and, they showed a little bit of weakness in that game. But I think in this Copa America, I don't think that matters too much. I still think this is a very, very strong team with an identity under Lionel Scaloni. They understand. They did a good job at the World Cup of not playing, or in the Copa America, especially beforehand, they understood some teams that had, they were willing to play a little bit more compact against certain teams and really rely on individual moments of brilliance from Messi, Julian Alvarez. They were willing to do that. And they kind of changed it up against France, and they went and they took the game by the scruff of the neck and dominated the game. So they're showing multiple abilities, multiple ways that they can go out and win games. And it's very, very impressive. So, yes, I think they have to be clear favorites, but would I bet them or the field? I definitely would bet the field. I think under Dorval Jr., this Brazil national team is a team that's hungry. They have something to prove. When you see what Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo, if they're able to emulate that form that they have for Real Madrid and leading them to the Champions League final, being the front two of Real Madrid that won a Champions League, if they can bring that sort of level to this Brazilian national team with the squad and quality in that team, that midfield, that Premier League midfield has good ball players. Lucas Paquetá, he's going to be playing in this Copa America despite his situation. But Lucas Paquetá, Douglas Luiz, defensively, I think Brazil is a little bit weak, but I think Brazil have always been, in general, good team defensive-wise. Their ability to keep the ball, the Jogo Bonito style of play, the Brazilian way, they're very good at keeping the ball and taking the pressure off the back line. So I think they'll be a threat. I think Uruguay Uruguay, they've already shown their ability to beat Argentina. They beat them 2-0, and what they're gonna be doing under Marcelo Bielsa and the starting 11 that Uruguay has, I think Uruguay has a brilliant starting 11. In my opinion, when you see the team that they can roll out with, I think that should be very concerning if you're looking at it from perspective now. When you look at the teams, the guys that Uruguay has, like a Darwin Núñez, and a Palestri, Ugarte, Araujo, Cáceres, Oliveira, Federico Valverde, Jose Jimenez, Rodrigo Bentancur. This is a team with quality. DRS Queta, he's a very, very good player. I think Uruguay should not be slumped with. I think Colombia, with the form that they're entering with a good balance of young energy like Luis Diaz, and then also the experience of a guy like James, who's still part of the setup and this Colombia team, who's been playing very, very good and on a very good run of form in the qualifiers. I think they also a huge threat at this Copa America. The U.S. men's national team, with the squad that they have a chance. And also a team I think is being slumped on is Ecuador. Ecuador, what they accomplished at the last World Cup, they didn't get out of the group stage, but they played some remarkable football. What they did in that opening game, just completely suffocating the host nation Qatar. And then what they did in that next game against Netherlands, I think, in my opinion, dominating them through the 90 minutes. It finished 1-1, but they played far the better, the superior football, and they made Netherlands, play in their own half. That's how brilliant that they were, and they created so many chances in that game, I think. And then they went on to lose against a Senegal team that was just a little bit more experienced, was a little bit more knack to get into over these fine line moments. I think an Ecuador team with more experience, yes, and Ener Valencia was a little bit, not as in peak form as he was in that last year World Cup, but still, he's still there. He's still part of the setup. Don't sleep on this Ecuador national team. I think there's plenty of talent in teams at this Copa America, and it's not going to be a breeze for Argentina. And I definitely think there will be a more likely outcome is another team wins this Copa America rather than Argentina wins this Copa America. And there is huge pressure and huge motivation for this Brazilian national team. The amount of dominance Argentina has had in the last two international windows, winning a World Cup and winning a Copa America, there's going to be a huge force, a huge pressure on this Brazilian national team to change it around. Because one thing that will not be acceptable is, let alone them winning one is not enough, but them winning 3 straight international tournaments, 2 Copa Americas and a World Cup. That's so unacceptable for Brazil's most fierce international rivals, and I think they are really gonna get this Copa America. I really do. I am a Brazil fan, so maybe I'm speaking from the heart, but I think eventually, because Argentina at the same time, Argentina are not gonna be able to go into this game against Brazil, and they're not gonna be able to dominate possession and outclass Brazil. Because in terms of talent, in terms of ball players, I think Brazil has the better team, the more talent, the better squad in general. I just think Argentina has more experience, more knack, they're more clinical, and they're set up much better by Lionel Scaloni. Like, if you go back to that last World Cup, Brazil were up 1-0, and they had 7-8 guys on the other side, on the attacking half of the pitch, and they get caught out on the counter for the equalizing goal. With a manager like Lionel Scaloni and his ability to be very good at in-game strategizing and being a little bit more of a pragmatic manager, he will never allow that to happen. So I think what the biggest difference between Argentina and Brazil over the past few years has been level of coaching. And I think Dorval Jr. comes in and he gives a little bit different feel to this Brazilian national team. So yeah, I think Argentina are the favorites. Don't get me wrong, but clear favorites. There are the clear favorites, but are they? Would I bet the field? Would I bet them over the field? Absolutely not. Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you once again and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Let's go.